Hey y'all. So I want to finish out, and tie up the story of Elijah where he runs away because he's afraid. And again, right after this amazing victory on Mount Carmel. And you just don't think that after that kind of victory you would run scared. David, after his victory with Goliath, cut off his head and paraded it back through the street. That's not what Elijah did. So he runs away. He says, "Can I please just die?" If you know anything about and we don't know all, but what the Bible accounts that came through Elijah and the mighty works and the miracles and just the wow. And then this man asked to die. It's not that these feelings of hopelessness and frustration and just ready to give up happen to only certain people. The enemy comes in to all. The word says that it rains on the just and the unjust. I mean, that temptation to just be hopeless and to be done and over and destitute, inadequate, lost, drained, and alone. Satan tempts everyone. No one is exempt from that temptation. It's what we do with that temptation. Goodness gracious, going back to David, he could have felt that way. I mean, he didn't have to open his mouth when he arrived at the Israelites' camp and saw Goliath. He could have just dropped off the supplies and gone back home to tend to the sheep. But he didn't do that. And so it's all about what we have renewed our mind to. What have we put down on the inside of us that is our holding place? Are we planted? And so, Elijah says, he said, "It is enough now, Lord. Take me away, take my life away, for I'm no better than my fathers." This is 1 Kings 19:5. And as he lay under the broom or the juniper tree, behold, an angel touched him and said, "Arise and eat." He was hungry probably. He looked, and behold, there was a cake baked on the coals and a bottle of water at his hand. And he ate and drank and lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came a second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you." And he arose and drank, and he went in the strength of that food for 40 days and nights to Horeb, the mount of God. There he came to a cave. Now he's still, running away from Jezebel, and lodged in it. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him and said to him, "What are you doing here?" Where are you? This is not where I've called you to be. This is not where I told you to be. What are you doing here? And then Elijah and the Lord have a conversation about what's going on. God gives him word, promise, and Elijah goes back to do what he needs to do. And so in the midst of whatever the trouble or the odds and difficulties or struggle might be, right? Because our definition for victorious is achievement of mastery or success in a struggle or endeavor against odds or difficulties. So struggles, odds, or difficulties, whatever they may be, we have to choose to talk to the Father about it so that he can give us perspective and wisdom, and then act on what he tells us to do. So Elijah was dealing with some pretty harsh emotions. Again, right after the high of the victory at Mount Carmel. So it's not just that it only comes in the low times, but Satan, you would have thought that after a victory like that, he was untouchable, right? That you couldn't scare him. You scare me with a death threat? Look at what just happened to the prophets of Baal. 450 to 1. But Satan didn't miss that opportunity to tempt Elijah into failure or fear mentality. So, what is our response when these emotions come? We have to learn to remind ourselves. Like Romans 12 says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so I encourage you in that today. If you're in the middle and you feel like a hamster on a spinning wheel, that you jump off that wheel, find your promise, find a promise about how much God loves you and how he sees you, and begin to meditate on that today. Say it all day long. Write it on your hand if you need to. Your steering wheel, your computer screen, put Post-it notes all over the house. But begin to think about that word over what's going on in your life. And we'll pick up here tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.